KABC time now is 24 minutes past the 9 o'clock mark on a Saturday night. I'm Bill Jenkins, open mind, and our subject tonight basically is crystals, but things metaphysical in general, if you wish. Certainly UFOs. Ho is with me. Lectures all over the country, certainly well known here in the Southern California area. He's with Heidi Ho Enterprises, and they are always stirring up something over there to enlighten you and invigorate you.
We try.
And make you a better person, perhaps. All right, Martha, welcome.
Yes. I went to a crystal, seminar type thing, and I bought about 3 crystals, and I put them in my jacuzzi, and I had no response. I mean, it was still, algae and still, all that, even though I kept it.
Well, you still have to put the little ion coagulants in the water. The Spa Bright and Spa Defender?
Yeah. Well,
you're still putting that in, aren't you?
Well, the chlorine or whatever, No,
not the chlorine. This is the stuff, the blue stuff that's in the bottle, and the light blue stuff. You have to do that. Because if you don't, the stuff that is in the water naturally, like dirt and stuff off your body whenever you get in there, and minerals, just go right through the filter. So you put the coagulants in, which is what they call Spa Bright and Spa Defender. You have to do that because the crystal is killing the algae, but if the algae is not being trapped in your filter, you're going to have mucky water.
Well, I was just concerned because I put them in. I went to this seminar and I put them in, and I thought, well, the algae is going to be dissolved, and it just absolutely wasn't.
No, it absolutely is killed.
And I was very disappointed.
Now, Martha, did you pick up what we would call points, or did you pick up clusters?
No, it was like a long bar.
Okay, that's what we call a crystal point. And sometimes, you see, you have to understand something.
No,
this has not been scientifically proven. We don't have the facilities at this point with crystal work to be able to go in and do lots and lots of tests and go back and forth and come up with lots of answers. Some of these things seem to work, and we're not always sure why. And that's why when sometimes, on occasion, maybe 1 out of every 10 people it won't work for, we are not always sure why. But one thing that we've come up with is that a cluster, you see, with a point, the energy is coming off of the point, and it's like having one hose of energy.
Yeah.
But with a cluster, it's like having lots of little points, so it's like having a fountain.
But, it's no fun to sit on one of those in the spa.
No, it's not, and so we came up with something that may be a little better.
But I have 3.
Right.
I have 1 long one and 2 little ones.
Right, and if you put them in the spa, you may get some much of a change. What I'm suggesting is that if you put in clusters in its place, you have more crystal points causing more activity.
Okay, now where do I get the clusters?
Okay, but let me go back 1 second because there's another thing I want to mention because Bill brought up a very important point. Not only is it not nice to sit on one of those clusters, it also isn't very nice to stand on them because they can be sharp and you can get the bottoms of your feet cut. So what we've been doing is we've taken crystal and we're crushing it down so it's in lots of little pieces and then tumbling it so it's smooth and putting, say, 2 or 3 tablespoons of this material into the toe of a stocking. And then when you tie it off, the water can go through the crystal and get all that energy, but you're not going to stand on the crystal and cut yourself. Because we're very concerned about small children and animals. Do a lot of work with that, and we just don't want to see anybody get hurt.
Right.
Now, as far as where you can get that from, I don't know if most of the laboratory stores are going to be carrying the crushed tumbled quartz, but we will have some...
I could crush it with a hammer or something,
you can crush it, but then you're going to have lots of little what will look like glass chips.
Yeah.
What we have is all the little chips have been smoothed so that if they fall out of the bag again, nobody will get cut on them. And we will be having a very large crystal tour starting tomorrow. And we'll talk a little more about that later on.
Okay.
But it's also understand, Martha, that we're not saying that there's anything scientific about this. I'm just saying I've had a crystal in my spa for 5 years, and I don't use fluoride for 5 years. You know?
And it
works for me.
And so I instantly put it in there, and because, hey.
But put the, you have to put the coagulants in. Go to your spa store and get the Spa Bright and the Spa Defender.
Okay.
That makes your filter work. Without it, the stuff just goes right through your filter, because the crystal is killing algae, and the algae has to go somewhere. And so it does. It's good. It's organizing the water and not allowing any of the little things to grow too much, except whenever the water is agitated, then the effect of the crystal doesn't work whenever you're bubbling it, but whenever it's still, that's when it's doing its work.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Appreciate your call. Now, we have, I do believe this is Randy that has joined us today.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
I have two brief questions. The first pertains to the situation in South America with the spottings of UFOs. You mentioned a few weeks ago that possibly footage of that would be on television in some form. Did that ever happen?
Well, Paul Shepard will be here in 2 weeks. He'll be the guest for the whole show. He's the one that took the footage. I don't know exactly what he got. He did not, as I understand, get pictures of the craft themselves, but he was there right after they were, and he was with captains of industry, military leaders, and political leaders in Argentina and Brazil, as well as a number of other people. So he'll go over his, it was really quite I envy him.
Yeah.
I would have liked to go and put on my Indiana Jones hat and gone down there with him.
Right. The second question pertains to a story run on CNN, I think on Tuesday. They reported a story of a large UFO being spotted in the Midwest, actually covering most of the United States from Texas to Illinois to Washington, I believe. I don't remember exactly. And I wondered if you had any further information. The government reported it as being a natural phenomenon, but CNN tended to think otherwise.
Well, the government will always report anything that relates to a UFO sighting, even though an entire city may have seen it, which has happened, as swamp gas are a natural phenomenon of some kind.
Randy, and
so understand that going in.
In one of the government explanations of UFOs, there's a case that was looked at, and the final result was this case is definitely a natural occurrence that has happened so rarely that it has never been reported before or since. Okay, that's an official government explanation.
Right. So, but neither one of you have heard any more than what I know of it, correct?
That's right.
That's right.
Okay.
We have another phenomenon that happens in the news media, and that is that a rear-ender on the San Diego freeway is far more important and interesting to the news editors of the local news outlets and television outlets than a massive sighting all over the United States of this strange craft.
Right. Well, I wish they were further reported, because people like myself are interested in knowing more about this.
We'll try to update you in 2 weeks.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Randy. Appreciate your call very much. And we have Barbara on the line. Hi, Barb.
Hi, Bill. How are you?
I'm just fine.
I really enjoy your show. I listen every week.
I enjoy having you aboard.
Thank you. I'd like to ask your guest if he ever uses crystals to heal viral diseases.
We use crystals. I have to be very careful how I phrase this now, Barbara, okay? Because the minute you use the word heal, you get some people all up in arms and bent out of shape.
Right, I know.
So let me phrase this the way I would phrase it in a open class situation, which is that we use crystals to help balance out the imbalances of the body, whatever they are. I think the belief of most people in fields that are predominantly metaphysical is that disease happens when there's a form of emotional or mental imbalance, and when that isn't corrected, eventually it manifests in some physical way. For example, I'll just give you a quickie one. I know a lady who's just recently hurt her foot rather badly, and it has to do with going forward in life and starting to make some changes. And I've seen that happen with a number of people who are just on the verge of making an important change in their life, and whoop-oh, they bang their toes, they trip over things, they slam into chairs, and next thing you know is they're all laid up. And it's got to do with their own apprehensions. Now, there are certainly scientific things that happen, medical things that happen that cause illness. But we are finding in this field that there are some very unusual psychological things that cause illness, and that's where we do most of our work. Balancing the energy fields around the body, what psychics would call the aura, what scientists would call the bioenergy field of the body, balancing it out and fixing the imbalances that way.
Now, do you use this crystal that you have in your presence, or is it in water, or?
Well, when we get to a point that we start going into different areas of crystal use, we try to have different crystals for different purposes. The same way you have different kinds of knives when you sit down at a table or work in a kitchen.
Right.
And I have, and what I suggest to my students have, is not only 2 clear points, that's the long bar-type crystals to work with, and then we work with something called the 4-color healing stones, which are a piece of rose crystal, which is the pink, a piece of amethyst, which is the purple, the blue, which is lapis lazuli for the mental levels, and green for the physical. It's called green quartz. And we have a technique that we teach in the Crystal Healing Workshop, and we actually give those crystals out as part of the workshop.
And you will be giving more information about that.
We will definitely, in the second hour, talk all about the tour and the Crystal Healing Workshop.
Sure, we'll let you know about that.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you,
I'll tell you something unscientific here, Barbara.
Okay.
My wife wears a crystal around her neck. Dale gave it to her, a beautiful crystal. And she got a wart. Now, you know, a lady doesn't want to have a wart.
No.
Right? So she just rubbed the wart with the crystal that Dale gave her that she wears all the time. And guess what happened to the wart?
It went away.
It went away.
Wonderful.
Now, nobody cut it. Sorry, Doc. Couldn't use the knife on this. It just went away. Now, that's unscientific, but that is an observation of a journalist and a newsman.
Well, that sounds wonderful.
I happen to know that the wart went away when she rubbed it with the crystal.
Well, keep up the good work, both of you.
Okay.
Thank
you.
Thank you, Barbara.
Bye-bye.
Glad to have you aboard. It's Open Mind tonight. With me is Ho. We're talking crystals, things metaphysical on Open Mind, KABC in Los Angeles.